Hello and welcome back to our next carrier update. I'm here with Thomas Wasson, and Thomas, it's Monday. It only makes sense that we're jumping into some reefer indices. What do we have here?
A little bit of reefer madness here, sir. We've got outbound tender rejections, the red line, as well as reefer volumes highlighted in blue. One thing to note, we did see some downward movement end of month, end of quarter. The bump came earlier. You can always see there's holidays and stuff being reflected on our data set, but we're seeing some movement, 1,438 index points. And in spite of this, here's the important thing to watch, rejection rates are trending downwards. We know that produce season as well usually happens, but with the first bits of frost, looks like everyone's trying to get what's left onto the road.
That's right, Thomas. And of course, we think reefer, one of the first things that comes to mind is, of course, drinks, beverages, chemicals, things like that, especially a lot of stuff throughout the summertime. But then, as you mentioned, we get to some of the colder months. Can you talk to some of the seasonality from protect from freeze also being needed?
Well, that's always fun because like your beers and beverages, that does happen. During the summer months, dry van can also carry in parts of Colorado as well. But once it starts getting cold, you will need a refrigerated unit to protect it from freeze. Now, you can put blankets on them. You can do certain things with the dry van, but I mean, take it from me, I've had a few instances where the whole truckload will just explode, and then you have all the beer and products all over your trailer floor. So you really don't want to do that. Typically, customers who will preload that will have special bays if it is a dry van that's going to be moving it, but you usually leave the vehicle. This is the craziest part. You're supposed to leave it idling, and as you idle your truck overnight, it's supposed to barely shake and move it and keep it from freezing. So let's check it out here, see what we got here. Outbound tender lead times, another thing to look at here. We see volumes going up, rejections going down, lead times hanging out. Now, obviously, before the Labor Day holiday, we typically will see lead times increase as shippers are wanting to make sure that, hey, can you take this or not? Normal. 4.384 days. There was a comment by Crete, which was interesting at a conference, and they said their outbound tender lead time for van was like 5 and reefer was between 5 and 6 days. So we are in the money on this. If you are a contracted carrier, it's not unusual. Now, if they said it was like 10 days in advance, then I'd start saying, hey, maybe something's up, throw it in the newsletter. But final thing as well, looking at the maps, putting in the weekly changes, we do see some movement. So in spite of the fact that overall rejection rates are down, volumes are up, we are seeing this being reflected nationwide. Big things to watch, though, is the major metros, your parts of Seattle, SeaTac as well. It's shiny over here. It looks like that's the Lansing market, Minneapolis. We did see some downward movement, but the poultry belt, sir, behold, this is where we're going to be seeing some movement, as well as potatoes. So I feel like Vanna White here. I'd like to buy a Val, but watch and pay attention to this because it is kind of the last hurrah. We will see movements change. It would make sense. I'd expect to see some more stuff out of like Colorado, as well as shippers that are moving beverages and bottles. We'll see this, of course, move as we go. But Arkansas and Memphis, very large markets as well for refrigerated. So at the end of the day, the important things to watch for, especially in these markets, is that we are seeing a little bit of volatility. But in spite of that, in spite of the higher volumes, it does look like capacity is able to meet the challenge.
Definitely looking at this poultry belt, as you mentioned, especially going into Thanksgiving. I can only imagine that there's some logistics around turkeys as well.
Yeah, Tom the turkey is about to have a really nice ride in a reefer trailer. You're going to be looking at that situation as well. A lot of them are frozen, of course, when they're being shipped to the stores. So depending upon if you want a butterball or a heritage turkey, keep an eye out on that because turkey season is getting, they're getting very fattened up right now. So start taking your lots, casting your lots for turkeys now because we will see, now I don't know what the extent of the turkey percentages for our reefer outbound tender volume. That is a very good question. We may have the turkey index coming up soon. But we do know that poultry and especially chicken as well as turkeys moving into the holidays, this will also be another thing to watch out for. Keep an eye out for the developments. Of course, you get your turkey news from us first here at FreightWaves.
That's right, Tom. Thanks so much for this update. We'll check in with you again. Right now, we're going to go over to our first community segment with Kaylee Nix.